Here is a simple way to paint boats in a harbour scene. I'm in Livorno doing some plein air painting again, outdoor painting, and this is the New Venice area of Livorno. If you've ever been there, it's normally a dumping off ground where cruise ships come in and they trace people over to Pisa or Florence, but they miss beautiful Livorno, a lovely city with this area here that's called New Venice, and very reminiscent of Venice, with canals a little bit wider than Venice and a whole lot less people. Very pretty to walk around, and some great painting spots like this one here. So I'm looking sort of against the light, excuse the background noise with the cars. I'm in a fairly busy area as it enters into Livorno. Yeah, a lovely plein air site. Let's see how we get on. Right, paper for this painting is Saunders Woodford. It's cold press, 300 grams, 15 by 11 inches. I'll describe the paints as I go through, but normal palette as per usual. And as per usual, initial drawing, thinking about the composition, and let's start with the top left corner. Tree line, top of the fortress, try and make that parallel, horizontal with the top of my paper, and then there's some bushes coming down to the water's edge. And then the start of some boats. Don't think I'm going to get them all in, but just a row of boats. There's a little jetty in between these boats. These boats are easier, look at them head on. Just get another one here. Right, buildings in the background. Fairly simple shapes. The water goes around there to the left. A row of boats here, big one catching the light there. Some little boats on the other side. Top of the harbour wall is about there. Just get in this right-hand building. Does it need anything in the bottom left corner? There are some boats just down there. No, we'll leave that. We've got the reflection of the fortress coming down. Yeah, I think that should be okay. Right. Paint. So this is going to dry quite quickly. Now down to a lighter colour for the brightly lit rooftops. There's a row of cars there. I haven't drawn them in, but just to have a bit of light hitting those. And then the fortress wall, just getting some of that green. And then down to the water, which is a bit darker than the sky. Need to do a bit of careful cutting around the boats. adding a little bit of burnt sienna at the bottom. It's getting a bit muddier towards me. There we go, first wash done. Now, thinking about the plan. I think I'll start from the top left there. That's nearly dry now. Wind coming towards me. With the sun on it, it's going to dry quite quickly. Let me just mop up this little bead here. And brush for the trees. Let's go with a medium-sized round. Tree colour. I'm going to choose a bit of Viridian green, the burnt umber. Bit of ultramarine blue. Yeah, the colours I've got: neutral tint, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, spring green, Viridian green, cobalt green, cerulean blue, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, cadmium red, light red, cadmium orange, cadmium yellow. So let's make this a little bit thicker than the first wash, and that's too light, so go a bit thicker. I'm just looking at the tree shapes. Little bit of light showing through them here and there. It's quite a dark one on the right hand side. And the canopy it's not very dense towards the bottom. Few little trunks. And then the actual fortress wall. So for that, a bit of ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, a bit of alizarin crimson, just beyond the tree line there are some little buildings, just the tops and just beginning to make an appearance. And now darker for that fortress wall. It's a little bit too red, just add in a bit more. Burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, bit of neutral tint too. darken things up a bit. Slight slope of the fortress wall down to these little trees, these little shrubs on the water's edge. Now pick up the foliage again. The sun's coming towards it, so we're catching a little bit of light on the top edge. Just flick the brush up, trying to get a feeling of that foliage. Then down to the water's edge. A bit darker. Top of that boat, and then over to the edge, over there. We'll do the reflections later on. Okay, buildings in the background. Go back to my larger mop brush and mix. I'll pick up a bit of that actually, a bit of light red. Cobalt blue. I've just got lots of these different rooftops coming in at different angles, some catching the light. So this building with a big rooftop, brightly lit, it's quite dark this side of it. So going a bit darker there. And then actually pick up a bit of red. painting around a few of those distant boats. Right, this building here and that building, bit of a roof. And then beyond it there's another building which I didn't draw in. Let's get that in there. Right, shadow of this one, a sort of darkish yellow ochre, I think will be quite good for that one. Cadmium orange, darkish yellow ochre, and it's dark up to that right-hand building. There's another building in front of it. Another building in front of it. Just continue cutting around those cars. Alright, right-hand building, a little bit of shadow underneath the roof. It's light that side. And dark in the shade on the side. Down to the cars. Being attacked by flies. The perils of plein air painting, where some dogs might have pooped. Right, harbour wall. And it's not as dark as the, oops, that's too dark. It's not as dark as the buildings behind it. Again, a little bit of sort of painting around some of these boats. It's a slipway brightly lit there, and then the harbour goes around to the right, goes a little bit darker. There are a few more boats over there. Right, boat time. Boat time and reflections. Go back to my smaller round brush. And we'll just get in the darker bits of the hulls. So just a very sort of abstract. Shady sides of the boats in the distance. As we come down, then it goes around boat in the shade there. Actually, while that's still quite damp, let's go with a bit of reflections, which is a sort of greeny brown colour. So pick a bit of the cobalt green, a bit of viridian green, and it's actually quite dark up the far end, and then very narrow shadows. Right, very narrow reflections in the distance, like that. Right, continue on. And now reflections. So again, that sort of viridian green, bit of cobalt green, maybe a bit of burnt sienna, viridian green, cobalt green, burnt sienna, and fairly solid underneath the fortress wall. So I'm just using the edge of my brush and these reflections will come down. So we're just seeing a little bit more sky in these reflections as we come down to the foreground. too brown, a bit more green. A few more. Boat shadows, and then reflections. This, of course, we've got a bit of reflections of the buildings as well now. I might need to go around this way. My palette's in the way. Right, some darker accents now, details. Change of brush. Go with a smaller detail brush. Pick up some of this reflection mix. Just to wet the brush. And then background buildings. Few little lines emphasizing some of the roof edges. There's some windows here and there. Building here, and a few little windows on that one. Cars, you can just see their windscreens, really. So a few little windscreens. Distant boats. No, I've got to be careful here not to overwork it. You can put in just a few little water lines and bits and pieces. And some of them, and then darker shape there. Right, nearby boats. Dark waterline. Some of these boats have got a very bright blue canopy, so let's just pick up a bit of cobalt blue and careful not to smudge my right hand, which I always do. Just a few little accents here and there. Continue on with a few more boat details. A few verticals always helps. It's all looking a little bit blue. A few fenders. Windows on the right hand building. Might be a little bit too dark. The trouble with painting in the sun is you can't see the values too clearly until you go into a slightly darker light. Cars on this side. Just get a rigger brush and do some finer lines. A few little posts up on the harbour wall, that could be a lamp. Might need to go a little bit darker on the water's edge over there. Yeah, that's better. That just defines that a bit better. I think we're done. Venice Quarter, the Venice Quarter in Livorno. As I normally do at the end of my demos, just a little quick recap and see how things went. A bit of a critique of myself. A bit of a context then. So this is I just zoomed into Google Street View here. And this is where I was. If I just zoom in just a little bit more. This is actually where I stood. My camera was attached to this sign here, if you can imagine it. My camera on a little boom arm there, pointing down to where I was painting. Yeah, so looking contre-jour, when was this taken? So this is January. I was late summer, early autumn, but a similar view and the sun coming towards me. And you can see here, this is the road that was causing the noise. So apologies for all the background noise. And there seem to be loads of motorbikes. I don't know why. Maybe it was lunchtime or something like that, and people going backwards and forwards to work. But there were loads of motorbikes going up and down this road. That's the main part of Livorno, down that way. And then the New Venice area is further up this way, and you can see all the starts of these canals there. Let's zoom out to see the proper map. There we are. There's Livorno. Cruise ships come in here, and they go off to Pisa. Where's Pisa? Pisa's somewhere over here. Or is it there? There's Pisa. There we are. So that's where I was, Livorno. Let's take a look at the source photo and just do a recap of a simple way to paint boats. My scene then, quite easy to do these boats. We've got the nearby row of boats going across in a sort of horizontal way, and then the further boats going up the side of the canal. Those I thought of all those boats there, and the more you zoom in, the more details you begin to see. But try to think of those boats as one object, all connected, and just really picking out the main darker areas like the outboard motors, the water lines as well, a little bit of shadow on top of the boats. And then these nearby boats, probably the ones on the left-hand side were the trickiest, because where I was, I'm looking slightly down on the scene. So we're looking slightly down into the boats rather than a complete side elevation, the same level. So a little bit more difficult, those on that left-hand side there. These are easiest because from the front or the back, and the back's even easier, we've just got really a rectangle there of the back of the boat. Yeah, we've got some details of the outboard motor and bits and pieces on the back there. And then the top of the boat is a little bit like that, with that sort of tarpaulin cover over it. Or this one is a little bit more open here. But essentially we've got a bit like cars really. You've got the sort of main body of the car, and then the windscreen or the top part of the car. Bits of blue, which I picked out, little rectangles, little geometric shapes of blue here and there. These boats on the left-hand side were the trickiest because they're at a slight angle, and as I say, we're looking down on them. But again, the same principle. Just think of them like an object, a 3D object, and trying just to simplify the edges and the shapes. We're not really... These boats down here, if I bothered to put those in, they would be a little bit more tricky, especially that one there, looking down on it and all the shadows and objects inside the boat. A bit more difficult, but these, they're a significant distance away. We can simplify them. And like the distant boats, just thinking about the dark waterline, generally these boats have a dark waterline, pretty much all of them. There, there, there. There, maybe a bit more difficult to see in darker boats. Darker boats actually could be even easier still, because the the dark part of the boat is almost merging with the dark reflections. It's almost one. This one here. That is obviously the top of the boat, but you can hardly see where the waterline is. So with that one, you would just do that as one object. So I would paint in the top part of the boat first, come down to the waterline, change colour to that sort of cobalt green, something like that in this case, and then continue on with the reflections. But doing one after the other, you get that soft transition between the two. Simple boats. What else could I say about them? Well, there's the outboard motors, just little blobs of black paint. And also something else to make the boats just a little bit more authentic are these fenders. So little dabs here and there of maybe white paint or perhaps a red or a blue, just to create these little fenders in random places down the sides of the boats. Right, there's just a few in there. You can just about see between those two boats. A few more over there. Always makes boats a little bit more realistic. And finally, a little bit of rigging, a few masts, something like that, just makes them a little bit more nautical, a bit more realistic in the scene. Yeah, simple boats and fairly simple reflections as well, with using that long round synthetic brush and the side of the brush to get these sort of realistic reflection marks, and thinking about the widths of those reflections as well. So quite narrow in the distance there, like that one there. And then as we come closer to us, can I pick out any? Well, it's a little bit difficult in this photo. There might have been a little bit of wind as I took this photo, but if I zoom in here, like some of these wave marks here, in that area there, are a little bit bigger. This is my end painting, and let me just zoom in a bit more. My end painting, I'm relatively pleased with it. It was painted under testing circumstances with the light coming towards me, a bit like the Manarola plein air I did recently as well, where the light's coming towards you, quite warm, quite a warmish day, so the paint was drying quite quickly. Had to work quite quickly as well. But on the whole, I think I've captured the scene with those waves. Might have gone a little bit too thick. I was talking about the width, how narrow those more distant wave reflections might be, so might have gone a little bit too thick with those distant ones. But I've captured the essence of place, the light coming towards us, the rows of boats, the light hitting the rooftops in the background, and the trees on top of the old fortress there on the left hand side, and then the light hitting the tops of the rooftops as well. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you picked up something from that. A simple way to tackle boats, to reduce their complexity, thinking of boats as one object. Thanks for watching. Catch up with you on the next video.